2021 UEA YEOSU Summit. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Choi Hanarim, who will be leading you through today's ceremony. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very auspicious occasion. Because of the prolonged COVID-19 from last year, we'll be holding a hybrid ceremony that is virtually and in person to ensure the safety of everyone. So for the virtual participation, we are providing virtual platform, and you can also see the live broadcasting version of the ceremony through the Yosu City and International Climate Environment Center ICEC YouTube channel. So if you search the word Yosu YEOSU story or ICEC, you'll be able to have a live broadcast of our ceremony. So I would like to ask all the participants who have checked their temperatures and were disinfected upon entering this venue. I would like to ask everyone to wear your masks at all times. So today, I would like to sincerely thank all our distinguished guests for attending the UEA YEOSU Summit 2021 and to bring this international conference to a successful closing. We are commemorating our 5th edition, and the UEA YEOSU Summit is under the theme Sustainable Cities Through Realizing Net Zero. It was held from September 29th to October 1st successfully here in Yosu. And now we're going to bring this wonderful conference to an end through this closing ceremony. So we have actually derived a lot of important outcome during the sessions on different topics during this international conference. So let's take a look at the performance conveying the key messages.
네.
That was the closing performance we just saw from Unju Park and the team. Please give them another hand, please. It was a great performance, and it was also thought-provoking, and it is about living up to our challenges and our promises and helping out and contributing in the environment. And we are trying to help our environment, plants, and also our animals that live in our environment. Those watching online and those participating here, what did you feel? Net zero. We should start and we should all pitch in. We should start with ourselves and we need to take action. One thing that we could participate in is using public transportation, planting trees, and reducing disposable goods. And there are a lot of spam mails on our internet, and we hear that this consumes a lot of electricity. So there are very small things that we can do that we can all participate in trying to help out in realizing and achieving the target of carbon neutrality. It was a very outstanding performance. So we ask you to participate in these activities in order to help in protecting our environment and realizing carbon neutrality. Now we will go on to the introduction of our VIPs. Many VIPs have participated, but due to time constraint, we cannot introduce all of them to you. We ask for your understanding. First of all, we have here with us Mayor of Yosu City, Oh Bong-kwan. Thank you very much. And we have with us from UEA, Won Tae-yoon, Secretary General of UEA. In addition, we have many who are supporting and interested in net zero, participating online. Why don't we give ourselves a big round of applause?
다음은 2번.
Moving on, we are going to have a presentation session on summarizing the UEA YEOSU Summit. So the presentation will be done by the chairs of each breakout session. I would like to ask our chairs to come up on stage for the outcomes report by session. I would like to call on your name. First of all, UEA Secretary General, Mr. Yoon. As well as Mr. Sajangwon from Namdo Daily. COP28 Bidding Committee, Mr. Jo Se-yoon, the advisor. From Yosu Sustainable Development Council, Mr. Jo Hyun-seok, Permanent President. And from Gwangju Art Science Council, Ms. Kim Hyun Olivia. I believe that everyone is up on stage. Now we will listen to your presentations. I will now turn it over to you. I think that I need to moderate this session. I am Yoon Won-tae, Secretary General of UEA. So during the 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit, we've had a lot of interesting discussions, and I believe that we are bringing this summit to a successful end. And especially during the summit, we had 7 parallel or breakout sessions. And in all of these sessions, we had obtained very meaningful outcome. Especially, one of the important things about these sessions was that we talked about our next generation, and we also had participation from our next generations and youth who actually share their voices regarding the future challenges, including climate change. Not only that, during the UEA Summit, actually the summit is being held here in Yosu, And there are 12 South Sea and South Central region and local authorities that are located near this area. And South Sea and South Central region is known for its wonders of nature. So the mayors and the district mayors got together to discuss about how to protect the environment of this region and also share their ideas about the potential COP28, upcoming COP28. And climate change is not just a problem limited to our country, but it is a common global challenge that the world is faced with. In that sense, it is a very serious challenge. And in that sense, we also had the participation of many embassies in Korea who got together to discuss about important topics. For example, the policies regarding climate change in respective countries. There are countries located in tropical regions and polar regions. So each of these countries shared their national policies in terms of fighting climate change. So the ambassadors shared policies as well as some technological developments. So that was one of the breakout sessions. And not only that, most of the climate actions are being led by the NGOs and the civil society. So NGOs have been actively engaged in climate change actions, and they need to coordinate and collaborate further. So in that sense, we held the NGO forum session. And the climate change that we are faced with today is the result of the excessive use of fossil fuels. So, in that sense, in order to respond to climate change, all societies around the world need to shift from a fossil fuel based society. We need to completely change our social structure and transition to a greener society. So, we really have to think about how to efficiently use renewable energy. In that sense, we had a breakout session or international forum on renewable energy. And not only that, we're talking about the carbon neutral policy and so forth. And all of these topics are very much related with policymaking. And such policymaking should be based on science and technology. It should ground itself on technology and science because climate change or climate crisis is something that requires science and technology from the outset. So during our summit, we had a separate session dedicated to science and technology. And not only that, UEA is also an agreement gathering global players. So more than 100 participants or member cities actually are part of our agreement. So these member countries had discussions on topics relating like technology, and also they shared best practices through a breakout session so that we can seek common solutions all together. So I briefly gave you a summary of the sessions. Now I would like to introduce to you the chairs of each session who are going to elaborate more on the outcome of each breakout session. First of all, I would like to now turn the floor to the chair of Youth Forum. Hello, everyone. During the UAE YEOSU summit, I chaired the youth forum. My name is Jo Se-yoon. As you may well know, the world is faced with global challenges, and at times we tend to avoid the stark reality that we are faced with. Now we need to engage in positive discussions and discussions of hope. And I just found that hope during our forum focusing on youth. So our youth were very agreed on the need and on the commitment that we need to combat climate crisis. And at schools and in families, we need to actually tailor our policies towards these players. with the youth taking the lead. And all of the participants actually began the discussions with hope for the future and promise for the future. For example, we heard the case of Gure-gun, and they were holding one-on-one performance to raise awareness on the environment. And Gwangyang and other cities actually felt the need to raise awareness on the environment. And as for Namhae, they actually focus a lot on the importance of youth, and they also raise awareness about maritime issues. And this is a task that is ahead of us. And as for the school's carbon neutrality effort in Sachanshi, that was quite inspiring. And Jinju city's civil engagement in the environmental protection was interesting. And also, Hadonggun also shared a best practice that really inspired many participants. So the best way to predict the future is to create the future. So we need to implement action vis-à-vis climate change. It is something that everyone should initiate. These fresh discussions among our young people actually will be an important insight in addressing the challenges that we face today. And during Christina Figueres, who used to be the former Secretary General for COP, she said the following. She said, "It is very important for us to know who we are, and depending on that, we'll be able to go for the right option, right choice, and that will decide our future." Thank you very much. Hello, I am Seo Jung-yeon from Namdo Daily. So I was in charge of chairing the Renewable Energy Forum. Actually, it was Mr. Jung Sun-nam, the Vice Governor of Jeollanam-do, a former Vice Governor of Jeollanam-do, who actually chaired the session. But I'm actually attending today to speak on his behalf. So Namdo Daily, 4 years ago, actually identified energy as an important sector in addressing climate change. And one of the solutions for promoting the sector is to transition towards renewable energy. And in that sense, Namdo Daily has been holding international forum on this topic for the past 4 years. And this year, we were able to partner with the UEA and also organized this session on renewable energy. So we had a keynote speech by Professor Cho Yong-sung of Korea University during our renewable energy session. We heard about the cases of the solar city in Jeollado, but there were also presentations on how to expand renewable energy, and we also had a panel discussion. So one of the important things discussed during our session was that after the 2015 Paris Agreement, countries around the world are working hard to implement the agreement, and they are declaring their commitment to become carbon neutral states. But this is something that everyone should do. This is not what we should discuss. We should discuss about how to put all of these resolve and commitment into concrete action. And in order to do that, every country and every local government and central government around the world need to develop a specific action plan and take action immediately. There is a pending need, an immediate need to do so. So the outcome of our session will be included in the declaration, and I would like to also read out what we discussed. So UEA member states for energy transition and energy demand need to increase efficiency and expand renewable energy so that through low growth, sustainable growth, we can work for sustainability of cities. And we will use solar, wind power, and hydrogen power, and renewable power. And we will expand the portion of this power in the energy mix. And we will increase international cooperation in that regard. And we will take each other's specific environment into consideration to immediately develop action plan. And we would like to call each and every member of international community to do so. Next is a session on South Sea and South Central region. So since our chair is not here, I would like to provide you with, actually, I would like to invite Mayor of Yosu to share with us the outcome of the forum on South Sea and South Central region. So Mayor, would you please brief us on what you discussed during the session? Please welcome the Mayor with a big hand.
네, 안녕하십니까.
Thank you very much. I am Mayor of Yosu, Kwon Obong. So this is something that it's out of the blue that I am standing here to share the outcome of the breakout session. While attending the UAE, I met with a lot of people, a lot of participants, also a lot of ambassadors based in Korea. We had a lot of talk. And as many of you said, everybody needs to become carbon neutral, and this is something that is taken for granted. So now is the time to develop specific and concrete action plans to become carbon neutral. And I believe that some countries or governments believe that it is a little bit too late, but it is never too late. And while discussing with many actors, I realized that Yosu and Gwangyang were quite behind, meaning that a lot of other cities and other districts like Jinju and Sachon and so forth, all the other cities are mostly agriculture based, and a lot of the mayors of those cities are very eco-friendly, and they are already implementing environment-friendly policies. And the South Sea and Southern Central region hosts a lot of beautiful wonders of nature, and we have a firm commitment from the local heads. So I think the only thing that leaves us is to implement what we think. So Yosu and Gwangyang POSCO steel plants, we have some of those in our region, and we are one of the regions that emit a lot of CO2s. So we are facing directly the challenges of climate change. And not only that, we have an excellent condition to practice carbon neutrality. So I believe that our region can also provide a solution for the world. So we truly hope to host COP28 in South Sea and South Central region. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor. So sorry for that request out of the blue. And now I'd like to talk about the ambassadors or embassy session, which I chaired. So during the session, 21 ambassadors or embassies based in Korea participated, either ambassadors or relevant staffs. And as you may well know, climate change is a global phenomenon, global challenge. So we actually reaffirmed the importance of combating climate change, climate crisis, and each country shared their 2050 carbon neutrality strategies and goals. And in particular, the NDCs, the national contributions, there were also many countries that upgraded their NDC level. So we were able to listen to very unique and distinctive 2050 carbon neutrality projects or strategies. And not only that, achieving 2050 carbon neutrality requires a lot of concerted effort and collaboration among different countries, as it is climate change is a global challenge. So we called for a common response by the international community. Thank you very much. Now, we would like to listen to the NGO session.
반갑습니다.
Hello, everyone. I chaired the NGO forum. My name is Jo Hyun-seo from the Yosu Sustainable Development Council. So we had one keynote speech and we had 6 panelists for discussion. I would like to brief you on the outcome. As it was mentioned by our previous speakers, the global climate change is directly linked to the survival of mankind. And in order to respond to the crisis, we must achieve carbon neutrality. And in order to achieve net zero, action is more important than plans. And in the process, relevant stakeholders' roles need to be understood clearly, and we need to collaborate actively. Not only that, at a local level, as our mayor also mentioned in his remarks, the industry and the businesses represent about 94% of CO2 emissions. So, since that is the case, in order to achieve the net zero goals, the industrial complex's role is very important. And we are preparing to bid for the COP28. And in order to win the bid, the role of the media is also very important. So in promoting our efforts, the press, rather than just sharing the facts or reporting on the facts, they should try to focus or highlight the importance of hosting such conference. So I believe that we need to also seek a shift in our promotional strategy by the press. So based on these ideas, we would like to provide the following suggestions to the UEA. So internationally recognized blue carbon and the reclamation projects. I believe that we need to collaborate more on the maritime front. As for blue carbon, it is very effective in absorbing CO2. Compared to green carbon, it is much faster and it also increases absorption of CO2. CO2 absorption in subsea is much greater than in land. So that is why, in order to advance achieving the goal of carbon neutrality, and in light of the fact that we need to increase efficiency, I believe that blue carbon has a lot of implications. And of course, the seaweed, as well as all of these algae, they have a lot of important role to play as well. And we need to raise awareness about the importance of this algae around the world so that we can develop and further promote aquaculture of these algae and also the maritime creatures, plants. And I believe that in that sense, the UAE can call for more active and concerted efforts to that end. And that Living Sea, Living Waters was the title of the 2012 Yosu Expo. So I believe that what I just said is in line with the title or the topic of Yosu Expo that was held just a decade ago. So our specific proposals are the following. So I believe that we need to set up a separate working group so that we can talk about issues regarding maritime affairs. And I believe that we need to regularize or hold annual international forum on this topic here in Yosu. And on April 21st, during the Earth Day in Korea, there are lots of programs that take place. For example, riding bicycles and citizens events and so forth. So we have this Earth Day week here in Korea every day, and we hope that UEA will take part in holding this kind of Earth Day week. So I believe that UEA will take the lead in promoting the awareness about protecting our environment further in the future. Thank you. Next, there was a session on UEA member cities. I chaired the session. I'd like to brief you on that. As you may well know, UEA has 156 member cities. And as you may well know, cities represent 55% of the global population. So that is why climate change in cities is all the more relevant and important, and it is something that we need to tackle immediately, more than anything else. So cities are the major contributors to climate change, and at the same time, cities are the biggest victims of the climate change. So we have to take that into consideration. And in taking that into consideration, our member cities shared their best practices of carbon neutrality. And we were able to hear a lot of interesting best practices during the session of UEA member cities. Not only that, the participants also agreed or actually gave presentations on how to see common solutions. They also called for a common response. And in order to achieve the carbon neutrality goals, it is very important to develop policies based on, or climate change policies based on science and technology. And we need to implement relevant policies based on the science and technology. Next, I would like to invite the chair of the session on science and technology. Hello, I believe that this was the most important session for me. So our institute, the International Environmental Research Institute of Gwangju Scientific Technology Academy, actually had the presence of 5 distinguished guests to talk about important topics. For example, with the rise of sea levels and the lack of food, and also the frequency of natural disasters, we actually discussed about how to leverage technology to address these challenges. We also had a chance to talk briefly about the situation of North Korea. And we also talked about how to promote the use of renewable energy and how to apply different technologies to smart farming in Gwangju. And if the global temperature increases by 0.5% because of climate change, there will be a lot of fire and also floods that will happen. So we also talked about the importance of modeling in protecting this type of natural disasters. We also shared the efforts that are being made around the world, especially in Southeast Asia. There is a climate change center network under UNEP, and we heard about interesting cases there. We also heard the case study from Cambodia as well. So with that, our institute would like to contribute to sharing the vision for carbon neutrality. And furthermore, we hope to actually host the COP28 in the South Sea and southern region here in Korea. Thank you. Thank you very much. So with that, I would like to wrap up the briefing session on the session outcomes of 7 sessions of UEA Summit.
좌장님들께서
Thank you very much. We kindly ask the heads of the sessions to go back to their seats, and we kindly ask the Secretary General to come back later on to the stage in order to announce the Congress, UEA Congress results. And we will bring up the Secretary General of UEA Tae-yoon onto the stage to provide the report on the results of the UEA Congress. Next, on the UEA 2021 Yosu Summit Congress voting results, and I am Secretary General of UEA Tae. So the 3 days of the 5th 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit has come to a conclusion, and I would like to thank all those who supported us with their interest and participation so that the 2021 YEOSU Summit could come to a successful closing. And I would like to in particular thank Yosu City and officials from many municipal governments and international organizations. Then now, on behalf of Gwangju City Mayor and President of UEA, I would like to now provide an announcement of the results of the 6th Congress and Executive Committee. So, on the 5 agenda items of the 2021 YEOSU Summit, first on the UEA Articles of Association, Article 6.18 and 8.1, Yosu City has been included as a executive city. And second, on UEA, 7 key sectors or areas will be energy, circular resources, water, sanitation, city design, city nature, transportation, and human resources, human rights, education, and the 21 implementation plans were modified and supplemented. Third, the UEA YEOSU Declaration, and the final declaration was adopted, and that is going to be announced with the Yosu Mayor. And regarding the candidate cities for the 2023 UEA, and discussions are being made with Australia, Melbourne, and after the announcement of the YEOSU Declaration, the details will be reported. Lastly, on the UEA knowledge sharing, capacity building platform, and network platform, there are plans, international plans for this. And with this, I will conclude the announcement of what was decided during the Executive Committee. Next, we will go on to the Yosu Declaration that embodies the will and the commitment of all participants, and the Secretary General and Yosu City Mayor Kwon Oh-bong will come up to the stage to read the declaration and to sign the declaration. The UEA YEOSU Declaration holds a lot of detail, therefore we will not read the entire declaration. The Secretary General of UEA and Yosu City Mayor will be reading the content of the declaration, the main points of the declaration. First, the Mayor. Before I go on to the declaration, I would like to state that I would like to thank Secretary General of Yoon Won-tae and the Secretariat of UEA for their outstanding work in successfully holding the 3-day summit. And I want to thank the chairs of the panel sessions. And I would also like to thank the member cities joining online and citizens of YEOSU for their participation and support. And now I would like to read the UEA YEOSU Declaration. On world for a sustainable city through realizing net zero, the UEA YEOSU Declaration. On World Environment Day in San Francisco in 2005, 53 cities around the world signed the Urban Environmental Accords, which now has 156 member cities. We would like to herein reaffirm our efforts to create ecologically sustainable, economically active, and socially inclusive cities. Under the theme of Sustainable City through Realizing Net Zero, we gathered at the 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit held in Yosu, Korea for 3 days from September 29th to October 1st. Recognizing that climate change is progressing faster than expected, we want to further strengthen cooperation with the international community to respond to climate change and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. In addition, in accordance with the Paris Agreement and the long-term low-emission development strategies, we pledge to lay the foundation for a sustainable and virtuous net zero society at the city level and to exercise strong leadership for net zero by 2050 through tangible results. We acknowledge that while cities are relatively more vulnerable to the COVID-19 global pandemic and climate crisis, they are also key to resolving these issues. And we strive for green recovery and sustainable development by establishing urban policies and plans that reflect the region's characteristics. We pledge to work together so that we can pass on to future generations a safe and resilient green city. We hereby declare that we will adhere to the following principles and unite the will of all participants. 1. To overcome the crisis of climate change and sincerely implement the Sustainable Development Goals, we shall make joint efforts through cooperation to strengthen the network of UEA member cities. We shall form partnerships with various stakeholders in the city, and we will utilize governance so that the plans can be implemented, and we will help and understand one another to create an inclusive city and a citizens who are living in an inclusive society. Now we will be signing the declaration. After you sign, we ask you to press the completion button. Now the declaration has been adopted. We will now have a photo session holding up the Yosu Declaration. We ask the Mayor and the Secretary General to come to the front for a photo session. We have now read the Yosu Summit Declaration, and now we are carrying out the photo session. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And we hope that the declaration can be implemented in earnest. It is wonderful to see the passion of the Mayor and the Secretary General. Thank you very much.
다음은
Next is a presentation on the next host city of 2023 UEA Summit. I would like to once again invite Secretary General Yoon Won-tae to come up to the stage for the presentation. As was said before, the 2023 UEA Summit and the next host city report. So as it was outlined in the outcome report presentation of the 6th Executive Committee, so UEA Secretariat has been engaged in written consultation with Melbourne as a host city for the next summit. But Melbourne hasn't decided on its intention to host the next summit. So in that regard, the UEA Secretariat will be delegated the authority from the UEA Executive Committee to select the next venue for the 2023 UEA Summit. through the 7th Executive Committee meeting. So this wraps up the presentation on the announcements or the progress updates on the next host city of the 2023 UEA Summit. Thank you very much. So I would like to now ask the Secretary General to stay on the stage.
의장을 대신
On behalf of the President of UEA, Secretary General Won Tae-yoon will be reading the closing remarks. The 2021 UEA participants and city members and those participating online, thank you very much. So for the past 3 years, we have carried out the 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit under the theme Sustainable Cities through realizing net zero. And through the 3 days, we discussed with member cities the challenges and the tasks ahead for UEA, and this has led to great results. And for the success of the summit, Yosu Mayor Kwon Oh-bong and officials have actively supported us from throughout the year, even setting up a dedicated team for the summit through this. And I would like to thank the mayor and officials. And I would like to thank the efforts of all of the participants and the officials. And there were many who provided their support, such as officials of Yosu City and the volunteers. Thank you very much for your support. Through Yosu Summit, we were able to gather together with various city members to discuss sustainable city realization and realizing net zero. And there were many who provided presentations, and we had participants and presenters from international organizations. Thank you very much. Cities are a dwelling place for more than 50% of our population, global population, and cities have played a major role in civilization, and 75% of the world's energy is being used by cities. And so the urban environmental issue itself is an environmental issue, but it is also a contributor in environmental problems. So we discuss sustainable cities through realizing net zero, and net zero is a response to climate change, and it is about realizing net zero by 2050, and a sustainable city is a sustainable city that is a environmental friendly city, and that is the future goal of all cities. Through the past 3 years, we were able to obtain a great result of the Yosu Declaration, and this was a memorable time that was a precious time for all. The Gwangju that I dream about is a Gwangju city that justice and integrity is realized, and citizens live a just and integrated lives, and we are trying to create a city that supports those who live such lives. And we have gathered together our efforts, and citizens must work together to realize a net zero city. Although the duration of the summit was short, I hope that all who participated works for the achievements that we discussed, and if we all work together, then we can contribute in becoming a priming water to realize sustainable cities. And through solidarity and partnership, we can create a sustainable city, and this will lead to synergy effects. And we all should work together with one mind to realize a sustainable goal. And I will go back to Gwangju City to carry out follow-up projects and measures. And I would like to thank all those who participated despite COVID situation. Best wishes to you all, and may you be in good health. Thank you very much. Following this, we now will go on to the declaration of the end of the summit. All participants, thank you very much. With this, we will be officially closing the 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit. I officially declare the closing of the 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit.
네, 폐회 선언을 끝으로 이번에
Thank you very much. With this, we will officially close the 3-day YEOSU Summit, and this brings us to the official end of the 2021 UEA closing ceremony. We will now have a photo session for the VIPs. We ask the VIPs to come up to the stage for the last photo session.
네, 기념사진 촬영
We will now have a photo session. We ask the VIPs to move toward the front of the podium.
네, 이번에 파이팅을 외치겠습니다.
The 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit Fighting.
네, 박수로 함께 또
Another warm applause, please.
네, 하트를 또 보내주시죠. 네, 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much. We will now conclude the closing ceremony once again.